Right. Well, the person who can best answer that is about to enter the room.
Is that Matt?
No, Lisa.
Oh, Lisa.
Yeah.
So how does it?
Professor Lisa is the sage of all things, so she will answer this question for us.
All right. I'm just curious on how it works, because if we've got two, what's the second one doing? Are they a backup for the first one? Or am I meant to check in with one of those two and the second one checks in with me?
You have a lot of good questions, Carly, and
and he definitely asked me who's my second, and I'm like, I haven't even got one yet.
The important thing is to understand the questions. Now, Professor Bowen, we need your
All right. Well, I'll jump on and help with this, and then I'm going to put you on mute because I need to go. I'm still in my sporting gear because I was due on a mastermind in half an hour, and that's been cancelled. So I've jumped onto this one. So
we don't honestly mind what you look like, because Kelly calls, you know.
All right, Kelly, just I think I've got the question, but just repeat the question for me.
Okay. I've already got Martin, right? And then Martin sent me a message today to ask me who my second accountability partner is. And then when I've checked in with everyone else, everyone's got Martin as well. So I'm wondering how it works.
Oh, poor old Martin.
That's Veronica's fault, because Veronica said to me that you're supposed to have your sponsor as one of your partners.
Okay.
I think it actually did say that somewhere, but I don't think Martin thought that through, because normally your sponsor will have already done it and isn't going to be doing it, and not everybody's going to be doing it at the same time. So he probably is regretting that, but never mind.
And how does two work? Because me by myself, what's the two partners do? Am I meant to be checking in with one of them?
Yeah. So what you're meant to do is, when you post it in the main group, the NG accountability group, you tag your two partners.
Yes.
Okay. Now they then are supposed to just check. So if they don't get tagged, so I've just said to Tony, because I'm Tony's other one, I've just put in, we've just arranged, because of the time difference, if I get up in the morning and he hasn't tagged me, I'm going to check in with him. What's going on? Why haven't you done this?
Okay.
Okay. Now, generally we have two, because one, people don't take the responsibility of being an accountability partner seriously. We tend to think of them as being our accountability partner, but we're actually their accountability partner as well. In most cases, in this case with Tony and myself, that's not the case. But for most of us, it's a two-way thing. And accountability is accountability. So if you don't do what you tell me you're going to do, I need to check in and find out why you haven't done it.
Yeah.
It's not a telling off or anything, but it's a, hey, okay, what's going on? Because that's holding you accountable.
Yeah.
It is.
And if you haven't done it, that's okay, but it's holding you accountable to the commitment you made to let me know every day that you've done it or you haven't done it.
Yeah. So I've got Martin, and he's meant to check in with me, or I just post it in the group, and then he sees it in the group
and tag. Yeah, you just post it in the group and tag your two accountability partners, and it just gives you a bit of backup, so that if somebody doesn't check in, so if you don't put it in, one person might miss that.
Yeah.
I have to put it in my calendar. I have to put it in my reminders, because otherwise the day gets busy and we forget. And then before we know, we've gone 2 or 3 days and somebody hasn't put anything in and nobody's noticed.
Okay. Oh, good.
That's not accountability. That's not accountability. But I really recommend, if you're accountable for somebody else, you put a reminder in at some point. And if you're ever going to do accountability with anybody, put a reminder in your phone to say, okay, by this time, if I haven't heard from them, or if it's a dual accountability, by this time I will have submitted it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where it's two ways. So I know when I did this with another guy, he was in Kuwait and I was in Australia, I think, or Bali, somewhere anyway. And we had the time difference. So I would get up in the morning, and if I hadn't heard from him, I would send a message. And likewise, he would get up in the morning. If he hadn't heard from me, he would send me a message.
Yeah.
See, that's sneaky. It's sneaky on my part. I bought myself 8 hours extra because
for the next day
behind me.
Exactly. I do like your way of
But
thinking.
you haven't, because you've got Martin, so you haven't bought yourself that time.
Yeah, but he's too busy to check up on me.
He's
So
too busy. He sent me a message, where's my day one post? Because yesterday I had filled it in, but I didn't put it in there. I wasn't in the group.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
wasn't in the group yet. It wasn't approved. So I don't know. I must have got approved this morning.
I've heard some excuses.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So look, Callie, the idea of having two is just that backup, because it is, especially for Martin, that's a lot of pressure. He's probably just got you all in a group. He's probably just going to send everybody a blank message that says, where is he? Where is it?
Well, he's commenting on everyone's anyway, so it's probably the same as being accountable.
I think by the end of 90 days, I think he's going to regret that decision.
Yeah. So, all right. So if I was Tony's, if I'm Tony's, do I check in with Tony to see if he's accountable? Or is he my second partner to just check on my accountability?
It depends. If you've got it as a joint thing, then you can do it two ways. And if you haven't, then that's fine. But you just check in. And, you know, if they've been tagged, then it's nice to go in as the accountability partner and do what Martin's doing and just acknowledge great work.
Oh, you can have more than two as well if you want.
Yeah. Oh, you can have as many as you want. But they recommend at least two, because
I'm
know
just
from
trying
experience.
to find a second one at the moment.
All right.
Well, I'm willing to do that for you, Callie.
Yeah, I'm going to put your name down, Tony.
It is seriously, it's really worth doing it with people who are doing it with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Tony and I are doing it. I'm on day 72, 73, I think. So normally it would be people you're doing it with. So I guess normally, if we go back to what you said, Veronica, normally your sponsor would have already done it, and then your other one would be somebody you're doing it with. So you're having accountability to one person that you're doing it with, but then you're letting your boss know that, I've got this. I'm doing my homework.
That's a good point, Lisa. I was actually, because Carly asked me if I would do it, and I said yeah, but maybe I did suggest that I could contact Martin, because I knew when I actually asked Martin, which was prompted by V saying to me it's supposed to be a sponsor, but I knew I'm setting myself up for a problem there, because I know Martin's so busy that even when I try to get hold of him about, you know, when I've got a question, you know, he is just flat out busy, so it takes him ages to get back to me, which is not his fault. It's just that he is
it's just the way.
So I said to him,
and we have to acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge that.
You're too busy. So that would probably work better. Is if I'm going to be yours, then you might as well be mine, and I'll just let Martin know. He won't mind. I mean, like he said, we're all helping each other anyway.
That's right.
Exactly. And he's commenting on them all anyways, by what I saw.
That's going to take up so much of his time.
Yeah. So Tony, does that mean I now keep you accountable as well as Lisa is what you're saying?
Right. So I will tag you in each time I post. And then I'm also looking after V. So if you tag me, V, every time you post something in there, but there's no reason why you can't reciprocate as well. So it just means it's like I've got lots of wives all kicking my ass, you know.
Yeah. Luckily they're joyful wives. You'd be right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'll put your name in if that's okay. Like we're sweet.
The main reason I put Lisa down is because we've had quite a few chats about various different things, and we'd already formed this kind of hot team that we talked about through that. So because we'd had quite a few conversations, and I knew that Lisa's a coach as well and very professional and very good at what she does, I knew that I would get away with it. And I probably need that to make sure that I do, so I don't procrastinate or anything. So it's for your own good. And besides, it's very hard to kick your own bum. You fall over, you know, when you try and do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's definitely hard.
All right.
Okay, so does that clarify that question for you?
Yeah, we're sweet now. I'll be very organised.
Good. Well, that's probably given the other people who might have thought about joining the call sufficient time to get around to it if they were going to. So we could start on the principles. I have had a few apologies, so that's a few of the same people who are actually really keen to get on these calls, and they just keep having to work late and so on. So That's, you know, they'll get here when they get here. That's, I always think that the right people are on the right call for the right reason. So, right, let's go with sharing the screen then. So we'll go, well, I guess, who was on first? Carly was on first, so you can be number 1. And I think Veronica was on 2nd, so number 2, and Lisa on 3rd, and I'll go 4th. Hey, that means I get to read something different for change. Yay! Okay. So just bear with me while I find that.
Callie,
and you all
Callie, Veronica. Veronica, do you prefer to be called V, or is that just a personal thing with Tony?
V's fine. Most people call me V.
Okay.
Most people call me lots of names.
Me too.
Okay, so we've got, what did I say, Carly 1 and 2, and Lisa 3, and me 4. Okay, can you all see that?
Yes.
All right, fire away.
The purpose of the Mastermind is to learn leadership, build teams, and create multiple sources of income together.
We are here to inspire and challenge each other to reach and exceed goals.
Each member is committed to their own success as well as the success of every member of the group.
We are committed to meeting in person or virtually for 1 hour every week.
We are present. There is no multitasking or distractions during meetings.
We are collaborative. We listen without interrupting, lecturing, or judging.
We celebrate each other's successes without jealousy. Woo, woo.
We are honest and participate by giving thoughtful feedback. And there we go.
We are open and listen to different perspectives without being defensive or offering excuses.
We trust fellow members enough to share fully.
We are focused, but we also think it's important to have fun during meetings.
Hey.
Yeah, it's my
We
favorite.
are real and authentic. This is a no BS zone.
We allow ourselves to become completely aligned with each other and the high forces. One mind, one soul, one love.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Okay, where's my stop share? There it is. Back to where we were.
Okay, I'm going to break that rule of no distractions because I need to make myself a cup of tea. So I'm going to put myself on mute. I didn't know I was coming on this call, girls. I was getting ready for another call in about 15 minutes, and then I got the message. So I am listening and I am paying attention, and I will be back very, very shortly.
Well, I didn't have time to wash my hair or anything, you know. I've come straight from working in my cleaning business this afternoon. And driving through rush hour traffic. Okay, so today's topic. It came up for me today, so I thought this is a good topic. Are your goals scary and or exciting enough? So why that came up, fairly obviously, is we're all doing this 90-day challenge, and I started looking at some of these goals, and a few things came up for me. So I was thinking back to some of the examples through my life, and I think, you know, a lot of the times when we break new ground, when we sort of step into the unknown and we do something that we've not done before, there's always that element of uncertainty or self-doubt, or you know, just wondering, is this actually scary? Am I going to get hurt, or am I going to fail at it? And I was trying to think right back to my childhood and thinking, well, what could I remember? And one of the things that sort of popped into my mind, actually, well, a bit older than childhood, but it was when I was 16 and I had got my first little motorbike, and it was it wasn't just a moped. Well, it was a moped, classed as a moped. It was 50cc, but it was like a mini motorbike, so it could actually do about, you know, with the wind behind me and my head down and on a good road, I'd probably get about 55 miles an hour out of it. So what would that be? About 80 Ks or something. So it was quite fast, you know. You had to get the wind resistance right, you know. But it was like a little mini motorbike, and I always remember going to pick up that bike because a friend of mine had one, and we'd ridden it around his parents' farm. And so I wanted to get the exact same one as that. And it was this German one, Puch Grand Prix. It looked like a motorbike to all intents and purposes. And I went to pick it up on the road, and I was allowed to drive one of those on the road at 16 in Jersey. And I remember my father taking me to the motorbike shop, and I think I'd put some money towards it, and my parents put some money for a birthday or Christmas present or whatever. But just getting on that bike with the L plates on. So I mean, obviously I'd cycled on the road as a kid, but to actually go down the road on a motorbike and be changing gears for the first time, you know, and I remember my father commenting afterwards, you know, I'd sort of pulled out without looking properly left or right or something, and his heart was going there because he was following me home with on this motorbike for the first time on the road. And I think the thing that was most in my mind was not so much would I get hurt as would I potentially come off and damage the bike or something, you know. So it was a bit more of that. But I was trying to think what else sort of jumped out at me through my life as being a big goal that was sort of quite significant and was both scary and exciting. And the first one that popped into my mind was learning to fly and going solo. So the first time I was learning to fly in Jersey, and my flying instructor, JP, who was a bit of a crazy instructor, I could tell you lots of stories about him, but Jersey was a very busy airport at the time. It was about the 5th busiest in the UK. And so because the traffic was quite busy in the air, he decided that we should go over to France and go to a quiet airfield where we could do some circuit training, which is basically take off, go around the circuit, come back in and land, and you do what was called a touch and go. So you'd land, but instead of stopping, you would keep it rolling and you would just take off again and off you go. So the idea was to get lots of practice at coming into land. So we went over to this little grass runway airfield in a town called Lessay in France. And just to make it interesting, right at the end of the runway, as we took off, there was the wreckage of an aircraft on the left, which the local fire brigade were using for training purposes in how to put out a fire in an aircraft. So that was a little bit daunting, that as you take off and you look out the window, there's this aircraft wreckage there. But anyway, I did about 3 or 4 of these, and I'd only actually done, at the point that it happened, I'd only done 9 hours and 10 minutes flying, I'd logged. And we did this landing, and I wasn't expecting it yet, but as we came into land, the instructor said, okay, on this one, just pull over to the side of the runway, and which I did. And then he went, okay, you're good to go now. I'm confident you know what you're doing. And he got out. Now, this was a little twin-seater Cessna aircraft. So you sort of squashed up next to each other, you know, it's a high-wing Cessna. But when he got out, it seemed like there was this huge empty space next to me, and I'm on the phone, on the radio to air traffic, and get the clearance to off I go again. He goes, just take off, just do 1 circuit, full stop landing, park it up, and I'll see you in the bar for a drink. So off I go, rolling down the runway and take off. And that moment of takeoff, and you look across and there's no instructor next to you, and you realize it's all up to me now. I've got to get this right. Otherwise, that wreckage there is going to be me. So you take it off, you do the circuit, you come back in, you get clearance to land, and down you go. And I tell you what, it was one of the most exhilarating things I've ever done. But I have to say it was also, you know, a little bit on the scary side too, because it's that moment of realization that it really is down to you. Anyway, that's enough about me. I just wanted to just to set the tone for thinking big and having big, scary goals. Who wants to share something?
I love your story.
Thanks. I survived, obviously. Anyone got anything? Any big, scary stories, or any goals that have made you think that's a bit of a scary goal? I mean, we've just been setting a lot of goals this week. Has anything come up for you in that process?
I in the past, everything was scary, but since I awoken in the last couple of years, I don't find it as scary. Like, nothing really is scary. Like, I mean, if you'd put me on live on Facebook even a year and a half ago, there is no way, or 2 years ago, I would have said, yes, I'm getting on there. But now I just get on there, and ever since I got enlightened, when I met a couple of avatars, I haven't had the fear that I would have had when I was younger with goals.
Is that then because you feel like the universe has got your back? You're covered?
Yeah, because even if humanity doesn't have my back, I know the universe does.
Yeah.
Because I'm connected from heaven to earth.
So you don't even get nervous anymore?
Well, no, I won't say I don't get nervous, because maybe when I'm put in a situation I will. But I haven't been nervous to come on here. I haven't been nervous to go live. I haven't been nervous to do my interview with Martin. Was the first interview I've ever done live with anyone, and normally that would never have happened. But yeah, I just trusting the universe.
You could bottle that
place, right.
If you could bottle that non-fear.
I do help people get into their body, which is the safest place to avoid fear. Like when we're in our feminine presence and we're in our womb, or for the men, our pelvis, like our sacral pelvis, men and women, there's no fear, because it's the safest part of our connection from heaven to earth.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. So that's really intriguing. I want to explore that more. But just to give everyone else a chance, but has anyone else got any other stories or anything that's come up for you with the setting of the goals this week?
Oh, a lifetime.
I have to remember.
Sorry, carry
on. So yeah, it's good to have some time to remember. But I guess that one of the scariest things that I did was learning presenting for a radio show, to learn how to present, to learn what I couldn't say for a community radio station, to learn the equipment was the scariest thing. That was almost my biggest worry, was that equipment wouldn't work or my songs wouldn't play. And it happened a little bit. So I always had like 3 different versions, 3 different backups of everything. And one time, I'd only been doing it for maybe a couple of months, and the organiser for the show that I did said, there's this guy coming for the Perth Festival, would you interview him? And it's like, I have no idea who he is. Okay. So I had to learn about him, and he came in, and he was a really sweet guy, and he really enjoyed being there, and it was easy. Yeah, but it came across really well, but I was freaking out at the time.
So you hid it.
Yes.
like the swan, you know.
Yeah.
It's nice and calm and gliding on the feet.
Crazy down the bottom, yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. That's a good one. Good story.
Yeah.
Radio.
Well, I've had a few over my lifetime. One that comes up probably about 7 years ago. I don't know what it is. I became the first non-metro president of a international organization for the whole of WA. So I was president for the whole of WA, and it had always been people who had lived in Perth, and I lived in Port Hedland at the time. So, but as far away as you could get in the state. And I remember the fear. I hadn't been a member of the organization anywhere near as long as most did by the time they got to that position. I sort of was a bit catapulted through. And I remember my first meeting, because there were a lot of past presidents, there were a lot of people who've been in 20, 30, 40, 50 years who were very set in their ways. And I remember the sheer panic of my first meetings, both of the executive and of the first meeting. And the only thing I could do was to surround myself with people who knew what they were doing, because I did not have a freaking clue what I was doing. But I actually was a very successful president, even though, funnily enough, I cut Yeah, I won't get into, there's a whole story around it, but ultimately I impacted a lot of people, but it scared the living daylights out of me. And Tony, I recognized the plane. I remember the first time I drove my car after driving my test, because the test, my driving instructor drove me home because I wasn't insured to drive his car as a licensed driver, only as a learner. And then I had to drive somewhere else. And I remember the sheer panic for the whole, it was only about 2 miles. We were picking up potatoes. It was tiddy picking season. And of course, everybody was waiting for me when I got there. And it just like, where am I going to park the car? Because it was a little narrow country lane and there was a ditch if you parked too far over. Like everybody else had their cars and just this whole thing. But driving, it was only, maybe 2 miles maximum. But it was the most scary journey of my entire life. But I wanted to share, it's just, I love the fact that two of you talked about the universe has your back. I've literally, just before I started talking to Tony this morning, just recorded the main points from Universe Has Your Back to go on YouTube. It's one that I took them out and I put them out. I read them every day and I thought, no, I'm going to put them on YouTube. So I literally just done that this morning. So I think coincidence is pretty awesome. But what I want to say about,
there are no coincidences.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Well, it's funny because I had a bit of a doubt because I've put a beautiful piece of music behind, and I've said who the music's from and all the rest of it, but I don't know whether I can actually put it up or not. But anyway, I'll take that as a good sign that it's ready to go. But with the big goals, I've never had a problem having a big goal. I used to have a fridge magnet that says, dreams come a size too big so we can grow into them.
Oh, that's a good quote. I saw that the other day.
Yeah, I love it. It's one of my favorites. And my goals themselves have never scared me. So what scares me is when it actually has the possibility of becoming reality. And I'll give you an example. All right, so you see Elise here. She is going to be a full-blown cartoon movie. And about 3 years ago, not long after she'd been created, and she evolved. She wasn't created, she was born. I went to a very expensive 6-day program with Bob Proctor, and it was called The Matrix. And it was all about networking at a level that is way beyond the level we would normally network at. It was very, very expensive. And the idea was we spent the first couple of days working out exactly what we wanted to achieve. And then the next couple of days, what do we need to be able to achieve that? And then on the last day, we pitched to everybody in the room. So we had tables of 8. I think we had about 16 tables of 8. And you would go from one table to the next, and you just repeat your pitch around the whole thing. And as I did it, as I got to the end, the realization I had so much positive feedback about it, it was like, this isn't in my head anymore. This is out there. And that scared me. Up until that point, no, it was just it was a dream, it was a goal, it was but it was all in my head. And yeah, I talked to people about it. But all of a sudden I had people who wanted to help me, help fund it, help write 2 people want to write the score for it. You know, all this sort of stuff. And it was like, holy shit. And that scared me. That really, really scared me.
So the scariest moment was the realization that it was actually going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. So we can have a goal and we can say in our mind, we can say, yeah, it's going to happen. But when you actually put it out there and people go, wow, yes, this is fantastic. And you go, yeah, because to that point, you don't think anybody else is really going to believe it and, you know, whatever. So that for me was, I have big goals. We have that. We have the
so can I
games.
just have a point there, Lisa, before you carry on? So what you've just said there is that when we think that other people won't really believe that you can do it, then it's safe. Yeah. Because at that point it's just like a fantasy, it's like, you know, if I won lotto, I do this and that.
Yeah.
So people don't take you seriously because they don't even think that you're serious about it, because it just sounds too out there, right? But the moment that you get to where it's actually about to become a reality, they're going to be taking you seriously So you're risking failing in their eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. It was huge, this whole thing, putting it out there. Because I've talked about it to friends and whatnot, and they go, yeah, you're a dreamer, you know. And even if they didn't say that, that was the you know, my perception of what they were thinking.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, and one of these guys is an Oscar winner. Not Oscar. What does film directors win? It might have been Oscar. I don't know. You know.
Or a BAFTA, or a.
Yeah, something like that.
Anyway.
He's an award-winning, you know, filmmaker. So all of a sudden, I've got people saying, "Oh yeah, I can put you in touch." And I even spoke to a company in South Africa who make cartoon movies. And it was like, holy moly, this is like really scary. But that's recently been coming back up, because I put it on hold. It didn't feel like the time was right because I've had other stuff going on. But now the game and the movie feel like they're starting to come up. And I think perhaps being part of NG, opening up again to, I had a conversation with Aaron, you might have met yesterday. He does a podcast and he wanted me to go on it. And I was talking about the game. It's a game of life. So if you've ever played Cashflow 101, it's going to be a Lisi game of life. Similar sort of thing, but teaching people the consequences of reacting or responding.
Yeah.
So they learn those different ways of thinking throughout life. And there'll be a kid's version and an adult version. And I'm talking to him about it. And he says, oh, do you have somebody who can help me make it? And I said, no, not yet. And he said, oh, I know somebody. So that's for the electronic version. I want to do a board game as well. But yeah, but it's funny how these dreams, these goals evolve, because I decided that I wanted to live on a cruise ship. I don't know if you know, John DeMartini actually lives on a cruise ship called The World.
Yeah.
I've actually seen The World. I didn't realize it at the time, but I have actually seen The World. And there was another ship, but I think the GFC got hold of it, and I don't think it ever got completed. And it was called it wasn't the Utopia. I can't remember what it's called anyway.
It wasn't called the COVID, was it?
No.
HMS COVID.
Yeah. No, this other one I liked a little bit better than The World, because The World, you've got to be interviewed by everybody on the ship to see whether you're suitable to be a member of it. And
so everyone's a resident on the ship, is that what you
pretty much. Not, maybe not, but it's you can't just go and buy an apartment on it. You've got to be approved by the others, because it's a community. Yeah, so you've got to meet certain criteria. But sounds this like other one,
politics to me. Oh, I don't know.
Well, but it's all very well for people who spend half the time living on the ship and half the time in their high rise in Manhattan or wherever. So The World was a nice idea, but it's not quite what I'm looking for. But this other one, which I don't think it ever came to fruition, had a mix. So you could buy an apartment and live on there, but it also had holiday makers. So I liked that idea because it had a community, a solid community, and it had constant people coming in and out. And that suited me. So that's where I was going. And then one day somebody said to me, why don't you have your own cruise ship? And I immediately downgraded to a yacht, because people own yachts. They don't own cruise ships. Yeah, in my mind, I just downgraded to a yacht. And I said, no, that's not what I want. And then all of a sudden, one day, I'm on the computer and I find myself looking at cruise ships for sale. Totally random. I'm looking for something else, and next minute I'm looking at, I don't even know how that came up. And I could buy a cruise ship for about 5 million, which sounds a lot, but from a business investment, it's not very much at all.
You're not the only one, I was actually looking years ago when I had my backpackers hostel, because that's very much like you've just described as a community with constant people coming and going. We'd actually broached the idea of getting an ex-Navy ship and just constantly sailing around Australia and stopping at each of the ports to let people go off and explore the local area, but just having
let's reignite that one then. Let's reignite that goal.
So why not?
You
want a helicopter on the back as well, sitting.
Yeah, absolutely. So this one, I've seen a beautiful one. It's in the Caribbean at the moment, but it's got a like a diving deck at the back, so you can just dive into snorkel or dive straight from the boat. So this has sort of evolved now. So originally it was just going to be a retreat cruise ship, so people can come and run their retreats on the cruise ship. And I've got my apartment. It's actually a different ship than that, because my apartment won't fit on that shit. The whole top deck with my own pool and all the rest of it. But what happened then was it evolved into a community of entrepreneurs who were supporting each other. Some will be therapists, some will be coaches, some will be bookkeepers, some will be accountants, somebody, whatever, so that we have a cooperative that supports everybody who live on the ship as a community. And then we have people coming in and running retreats. Some of us will run our own retreats, and others will come in and hire it to run their retreats. So that's on thing. But it's funny how that is just evolving. Initially it was, I just wanted to buy an apartment on a ship because I wanted to live on a ship. And then I'm owning the ship, and then it's just, and now I'm creating what I want on that ship. Oh, by the way, it's going to be clothing optional.
We're as crazy as each other. I was actually
absolutely
looking at islands for sale years ago. And it's surprising how many islands there are for sale around the world, and some of them are actually quite reasonably priced.
Yes.
There was one in particular I was looking at off the coast of Vanuatu, and
I had a look at that one. Yes.
$1.5 million.
Yeah.
And it had a World War II airstrip on it.
Yes. Yes.
So it needed
I looked at that one.
And it had an inland lake as well. So it wasn't a huge island, but there was no jetty on or off the island. But it was only about, I think, 10-minute boat ride out of the main harbour in Port Vila. So it was sounded quite feasible. I just didn't pursue it, I suppose, or I didn't have the know-how to think how I could raise the money to get it at that point. But the concept was, that's where I wanted to run coaching retreats to, and combine all of my passions in life. So scuba diving and beach volleyball and partying and having crowds of people and running conferences and seminars, and enabling people to, like, particularly it was going to be aimed at sort of entrepreneurs who maybe were a bit burnt out or a bit stressed, get them away from that normal routine and away to somewhere where we could really have some fun and also step back from that situation and then look at it with fresh eyes and bounce ideas off each other and so on. I suppose it kind of follows on from Richard Branson being my hero when I was a young businessman as well. So, you think Necker Island, I mean, that's kind of what he's created there as well, really. So it's not a crazy idea. It's just, you sort of go from, it's a possibility to, where am I going to come up with that money, and is it realistic? And getting sidetracked with other
that's a beautiful thing. Like with Bob, one of the first lesson we do is creating a C-type goal, and he talks about our goals as an A-type goal is when you already know how to achieve. Okay, so it doesn't stretch us, doesn't really do much to us. We can achieve that. We know we can do that. A B-type goal is what most of us are able to do. And Bob calls this a plan, because it's a SMART goal. So if you do this, 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 and this, then you're going to achieve it. So Bob calls that, he said, that's not a goal, it's a plan.
Yeah.
And it's unlikely to keep us going when the going gets tough. Yeah, we'll just say, oh well, it was a nice dream, and that was the end of it. So he talks about a C-type goal. And this is a goal that is so big, you have no freaking idea how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you don't need to know how it's going to happen, because it will be revealed to itself, just like driving at night. Yeah. You can't see the whole road. You can't see the destination. You just drive. And as you keep driving, the road is revealed in front of you. So when you have a C-type goal, then you will start to either meet the people who are going to help you, or things will happen. And you just have to be open to it, not necessarily happening the way you think it's going to. Yeah.
Well, they will if you believe in that goal.
Yeah. But you have to believe in it. It's got to be more than a mere wish or a want.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to believe that it can happen. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that movie will happen and the ship will happen. I don't know when. And time doesn't seem to be the issue. I just know that it will happen. And I'll tell you now, since I've joined NG, it's coming up more and more frequently. So I know that the people that are going to help me make it happen are in NG, or they're people in NG who can put me in touch with the people who are going to make it happen. Yeah.
So you're thinking bigger, and you're mixing in circles of people who think bigger as well.
But that's what happens when you have that big goal. Yeah. You get brought into the people that you need to make it happen are brought into your life.
Cully.
Yeah, you're attracting them in because you're expanding in your belief system of this big goal. You're feeling into it, you believe it so much, and then the universe is sending it, and you're upgrading with the people that are coming around you, because since I've joined this group, all I can see is these people from this NG Goldman that have huge vision of their limitless possibility, and because of that, it gives me permission for my own. Even if I don't quite know what mine is either. Like, I'm a C and I have no idea, but I know that I'm here for the feminine, for the feminine presence on the earth, to bring back the consciousness of the divine feminine. But I have no idea how I'm going to be doing that. I do know I teach embodiment practices that get women into their feminine, but it gets men there too. And we're both, men and women, are yin and yang, married together. But I know that I'm here for the Christed feminine, because I'm fully connected to angels. I'm fully connected to nature, fully connected to heaven. So I've just come to this NG Mastermind thing because for some reason the week before I saw $1 million sitting in my heart chakra. And then the following week I saw the little thing on the NG thing that said, we're here to make 1 million millionaires. And I didn't even know that was the case when I joined the thing.
So can I just ask a clarifying question there for you? You just said that everyone else's vision that you're seeing in Noble Goldman has given you permission. Why did you think that you didn't have permission before? Or who did, what was it that you needed permission, or who did you need it from?
I've always been brought up bullied, even by my family. So I never had permission to be my divine soul self. And so it's only in the last 10 years that I have been searching for my divine soul self connection, fully embodied. And I don't need anyone else's permission, only God's.
That's awesome.
And I visited God.
And you are God.
Exactly, but I didn't want to say that. But I am God in a body.
Own it, girl. Own it.
Well, not everyone believes that, but I fully believe we are all God.
Yes.
Well, even if we go back to the Bible, and I'm not religious, but the Bible says you are a child of God. So if you're the child of God, you have to be of God.
Exactly. We are the soul embodiment of God, and we're the heart of God. Like, our soul is God's heart, the universe, or whatever you want to call it, the heart of the mother, the heart of the divine, feminine, masculine, is us as a body. We're made out of the heart. So, well, that's another story. Anyways.
There's a whole Wayne Dyer episode about that, about I am.
Yeah, we are.
The translation of that is I am that I am, wasn't it? I think something like that.
Yeah, and his meditation, the I am meditation, is in I think it's section 5 or 6, section 6 of the training. So there's 2 Joe Dispenza ones there, and the I am that I am one with Joe.
Sorry, Lisa, go on.
No, that's not.
You finished.
So for permission, I know I don't need anyone's permission, but all my growing up years, I was waiting for permission because I was brought up by parents that believed that I had no desire. And they treated me like I was invaluable, and because I was bullied by them as well. So I had the belief I had no value. But the whole time, whenever I connect with the divine or Mother Nature, I see my value. When I connected with people, I didn't, because of how I was brought up to believe that society didn't believe in God. But I knew it even as a teenager. And so, yeah.
So would you say this has given you trust in people again?
Well, definitely found people that believe in higher consciousness.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to hang around.
Yeah.
I don't want to hang around people that don't believe in God. I mean, you don't even have to use that word. Consciousness.
Yeah. Something higher. Yeah.
I think that's kind of generally accepted in our community, that you can put whatever name you want.
You like. Yeah.
And you know, you can have your own theological variations, but we're all talking essentially about the same thing.
Yeah. And I've only met a few people that are fully aligned like me. And when I say that, I mean like high conscious people besides this group. There's only been a few, there's like, I'll say a couple of hundred people. But where I go, only a very small amount of people know what I'm talking about.
Can I just share something? I just want to acknowledge you, actually, Kelly. I know this is a Russ statement. I want to acknowledge you because Kelly did some work with my wife Jo the other day, and she was blown away. She was absolutely blown away by, you know, in a positive way. Absolutely impressed. Blew her socks off. So it really had a significant impact on her, on getting clear about where she was going and what was going on with her, and really life-changing, actually. So well done. That was amazing.
I felt life-changing. So I get what you're saying. Yeah. Because what I do in my healings, I get people to go back to the core wound without any drama to get there.
Yeah.
And they fully, in one healing, work out who they are and what they're here for, or who they are and what their choice was actually the right choice. And that sends them into joy. And joy is or bliss is our connection to source in its purest form. Because under that is the divine void. If you go a bit deeper into that, through the heart, you go to the divine void. And the divine void is what we're all praying to, that we want to create heaven on earth with. Like, we are clear channels for that, but we've all gotten in the road. And so when we tap into that, it's limitless potential. You could ask for anything that values you and it'll be received.
So can I just go back then to the original question, or the topic being, and that relates really well to that, was that to ask, are your goals scary and or exciting enough? You're sort of saying that you're tapping into that total belief and total joy and acceptance and awareness that everything is possible.
Yeah, and it's safe in that. Like, there's nothing to be afraid of.
All right. So some people would argue, though, that if you're not setting goals that in some way scare you or excite you crazily, then you're not thinking big enough. So in other words, going back to what Lisa was saying, you're probably, for most people, the comfort zone is to, if they do set any sort of goals other than drifting, as we talked about with Outwitting the Devil when we were reading that book recently, if you are setting any sort of goals, that you're probably drifting in the A or B category goals, the stuff that you know you can safely achieve, or that it might stretch you a little bit, but there's a pretty good chance that, you know, you've got the resources around you.
The only thing I can say is, because it all comes back down to pure trust in the universe and trust in your own value and heart, and who you are, like your own uniqueness, trusting all parts of you. But those parts are one with the universe. So it doesn't matter the goal, it's whether you trust.
Yeah.
That you are worthy of the goal.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important point, Callie, is that you not trust, but you know that you are worthy of that goal.
Yeah. It's an unconditional knowing.
Yes. And it's not something you can really explain to people. You just know it when you know it.
Yeah.
And,
You got it.
That's why I know those goals are mine. I know them.
Yeah.
I can't explain them to anybody, but I know them. And I think, Tony, that's where Callie is saying that it's not scary when you know that.
Yeah.
I know that goal, and I think, like I said, here's perhaps where differentiation is. When we have a big goal that is going to impact more, is bigger than us, then I think it is less likely to scare us, because when we're aligned, we're aware that we are just a cog in the process. It's not my goal. It's just one way the universe is going to help change the world in a generation, just as it's doing one way through Tony, one way through Veronica, one way through Callie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not about whether I achieve that or not. It's a method to get us into the new world.
Yeah.
So it's not scary, because it's just, I'm being used. And I often remember Mother Teresa, who said, this is not me, I am being used as a channel for God.
So question.
Yeah.
Is the distinction there then that it's not about ego anymore, that it's about, you said cog in the wheel, and you talked about, Kelly talks about connection with higher consciousness and so on.
Yeah.
Is it, you know, looking at Eckhart Tolle's works as well, is it where you are stepping out of your ego and you're becoming part of something much bigger, and therefore your mission is more pure, to use the word pure.
And that is the me to the we to the us.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's no fear. The only reason why there's fear in the first place is the ego and the unknown.
We're in the me and the we. There's usually still some ego in the we, but once we move to the us, and that's what NG is about.
Yeah.
Yet there are people who are at the me, who are at the we, and who are at the us. But the ultimate goal, the ultimate reason for NG is to create the us.
Yeah.
Because collectively we will, and it's not even about making 1 million millionaires.
That's just the reference point, isn't it?
That's the tagline, because that's what will draw people in. But it's not about that.
Yeah.
It's about changing the world.
Yeah.
It's about changing the world. And that's why this is so powerful, because it is about changing the world. And now we're coming together and saying, okay, well, I can do this, and you can do this, and you can do this. Already, Antje and I are working together. We're now combining our masterminds. We're doing them together. And we're already looking at, oh my goodness, okay, so we can bring, you've got the skills in this, and I've got the skills in this. Let's create something bigger than you and me together. And that's what NG will do. It will bring people together, and we will start to look at, okay, I can produce, you know, I can provide this, and you can provide that, and you can provide this, and you can provide that. And all of a sudden we've got something much, much bigger that is going to impact the world. Because anybody who's been doing this journey for as long as I have, 30 odd years, knows how freaking hard it is to try and do it on your own.
It's funny you said that, because I just said the other day that Joe and I were having a meeting, and I'd done a lot of reflection recently, and I said to Joe, right, I'm going to set up a meeting with V, because we started talking about something just recently about a plan that we wanted to create, and I think there's quite similar coincidences of what we want to achieve. And I started thinking in terms of putting a team together of people to you know, like evolve this thing and actually bring it to fruition. So it's not just about me and my idea and my ego, or V and her idea and her ego. It's about going, what do we want to create here, and how can we actually get this? We're on the same sort of track. How can we pull all our resources together and get something to happen? Because we know to do it on our own is so challenging. It's, you know, we don't have the resources alone.
Yeah, it's like trying to put up a shelf on your own, you know. You've got one hand holding the shelf and the other holding the drill. It doesn't work.
Or a bed frame.
Yeah. So Veronica, I'm very curious because you've been very quiet, and it could be because Callie and I've dominated the conversation. I'm curious to know, well, you clearly, from what Tony says, you do have a big goal, and does it scare and excite you, or?
I guess initially it did scare me, and sometimes it still does, but it's been sitting there for so long that by the time I brought it up with Tony again, it was dead. It was dead in the water. I was just giving up on it. So, and I mentioned it to Tony. I don't know why. It was just like, it was a quiet day. There was no one else there. It was like, well, I'm just going to bare my soul and put it out there. Yeah, and it is definitely, it comes down to very much, and I said to Tony as well in the meeting, I said, look, it's not me anymore. I don't even care if I'm involved in it, but I just want it to happen. Because I don't have the skills and I don't know what needs to happen. So it's too big. Yeah. But yeah, I do feel like in this environment, it is very much about this is very much an us goal. It's like anybody who wants to jump on board is very more than welcome, and we'll make it happen.
Yeah. And that's the key thing I think you said there, is that it doesn't even matter if you're involved anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel with mine. You know, I know what's going to happen. And yes, I want to be living on the cruise ship, but, you know, with the movie and the ultimate goal of changing the world in a generation, it doesn't matter whether it's me or not. You know, as long as it happens. And I just know that I have one tool that will help the collective to do that.
Yeah.
But it's more exciting if you can be involved in it and make it happen.
Yeah. But it's about that ego no longer being there. Yeah. The purpose is greater than the goal. And I had an amazing experience many years ago when I was a reserve soldier, and I became part of the brigade specialist training team. I was the first female they'd ever had, and it was a very elite team. It was the creme de la creme, and we were responsible for training not only the reserve army, but often in some cases the regular army as well, or running training courses for them. And it was the first time I truly understood what a team was, because the only thing that mattered was the integrity of the team. Everything we did had to fit in with the integrity of the team. And it was about what the team's, you know, the purpose of the team, and everything we did, does this fit in with that? And if it didn't fit in with that, it didn't happen. Because it was all about the integrity of the team. And that's where I really learned the value of the team, because none of us, we were all different ranks, but there was no, I mean, obviously at times you had to defer to rank, but mostly we were just all in the team together. And it wasn't about me and right, who's got the strength to do this, who's got the skills to do that, and just pulling together to create the best version that the team could be at any given time. And that's what I see all this is about. It's not about the individuals. That's the first time when I understood the ego. Nobody in the team was interested in what was in it for them. It was all, what can we give to the team? We've got a reputation. We want to maintain that reputation. We are the creme de la creme. And everything we do is to make sure that we stay there, because when we stay there, we're doing the best job we can. We're making the biggest impact. It's interesting. Wow, it's exciting. All these things going to be
movies that you reminded me of there. I think was it the one with Demi Moore, where she's the first female Marine?
Oh yeah, I know.
Is it Navy SEALs unit or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
I think the name of the movie, it's gone right over my head, but there was a similar thing where one of the guys was failed from the course, or was told off because it was about ego. It was getting over the obstacles, the assault course, and not making sure that the one who was struggling in the team wasn't being helped to get over. So the whole thing was about getting you to think about your whole team, and it becoming a team result and a team win, rather than you getting there and bugger everyone else.
Yeah. I did, actually, funnily enough, I had a really interesting experience with that. I did T. Harv Eker's Quantum Leap program, which was a series of programs, and we went to Malaysia and we did his enlightened warrior training. And we were in tribes, and each day a tribe would do a particular set of obstacles, or some were mind obstacles, some were mental, some were physical, you know, a whole range of things. And we were doing, it was like an outward bound type course, and it was up a step. Now we had a real mix of people. We had a 60-odd-year-old Chinese woman who didn't speak English. We had, you know, 18, 19, 20-year-old gung-ho, you know, guys. And at the time I'd had chronic fatigue, and I was still using that as my crutch, and I was that brought it to my attention. But we were going up through this, and we had to get there, and then we had to build something when we got to the top. And these guys kept coming back and shouting at everybody for being too slow, and come on, we got to get going, we got to get going, we got to get going. Anyway, we got to the top, and these guys are saying you couldn't start building until the last person was up. So anyway, they got to the point where they decided everybody was up, and they started building, and it was go, 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 go. And I just lost it. I said, call yourself leaders. I said, we've got a woman here waiting for an ambulance. You have no idea that she's waiting for an ambulance. I said, you don't even know if every member of the team is, because you don't know how many freaking numbers were in the team in the first place. And it's all about you. I said, a team is only ever as good as the slowest member. And there was this stunned silence, and I was angry at myself because I lost it. I was just like, you fucking idiots. It's just really lost it. But you know what? We went back as a team. We went back as a team. We crossed the finishing line together as a team. And when we had the debrief, we had all these young lads come up and said, that is the most powerful lesson I've learned. Because they were all soccer players. It was all about the one that scored the goal, you know? And it was just this huge shift for me to actually realize that a team is everybody. It's not the ones that run ahead. It's not the ones that are struggling. It's everybody. And we have to come together and work together. It also taught me that you don't have to lead from the front. It was a very powerful exercise. But yeah, it comes back to what you were saying, Tony. Yeah.
Just conscious of time, as we probably should start winding it up. But I just wanted to check. I'm happy to keep talking. We did start a few minutes late, but if people have got to go, then we can call it, start winding up, call a halt to it. But how are we all doing?
I can't stay too much longer. Carly, do you want something to say, or are you?
Yeah, unless you want to speak. Are you speaking?
You go.
Okay. I was just going to add about the team thing, because all my younger years, childhood, was all about teamwork. And then when I got into my adult years, there was no teamwork. I was still team orientated in my mind and body and heart, because that's how I was brought up in all the different sports games I were in, and mum and dad made sure we took care of everyone outside of us from our house, even if we weren't taking care of ourselves. So it was all about team. But the thing with that is I forgot the I. Right? Now, you definitely need a team, but there's also an I in there. There's the I and the we, and there's no point me being in a team if I can't take care of I in the team. Because if I'm not 100% strong, healthy, taking care of self, nurturing, loving self in all parts, but I'm giving to the we, keeping a team going, that's when exhaustion, disease, etc. comes.
You've got to fill your own cup.
And so I'm just talking around that team thing, because definitely you can't do things alone, but we're not alone, because the universe is one with us.
Yeah.
And the universe will bring the team.
Yeah. And interestingly, on that point, I felt more nurtured in that team than I ever did.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. When I got chronic fatigue, my commanding officer, who was SAS, and they're usually like real gung-ho, I said, I need to resign, because obviously chronic fatigue and military fitness don't go together. And he said, no, he said, I won't let you resign. He said, take a leave of absence for as long as you need. And then he said to me, I want you to come in whenever you're well enough to come in. I don't want you to work. He said, but you're part of this team. He said, I want you to come in and just be here as part of the team. I don't expect you to do anything, but I want you to come in and be part of the team. And it was like, whoa, this is the military. Nobody ever talked like that in the military. It was just quite amazing. So that team, although it was all about the team, everybody looked after everybody.
Yeah. That doesn't
really
happen
powerful.
in all teams.
Oh no,
In Australia we didn't have that.
No, it's the first time I'd ever experienced it, Callie. First time
Yeah.
I'd ever experienced it. Yeah, it was quite amazing.
It's been a team effort here tonight.
Oh.
She won't settle anywhere except on my desk, so she's got
it's funny about desks and computers, isn't it?
When I had the Backpackers Hostel, we had a whole collection of cats. You'd have loved it there, V. At one point we had for quite a few years we had 4. There was a couple that came and went or didn't survive, got run over, whatever, but we had 4 main ones, but all the cats were named after drinks. So Bourbon was the main one, who was there the entire lifetime of the Backpackers. Then there was Champagne, Malibu, and Stolly. But Bourbon was there right from day one, right to the very end, and ended up going home with one of the staff members when I closed or sold the business. And she's now passed on, but she used to sit on my paperwork in my in tray. So talk about a productivity blocker.
I always knew when it was time to stop work because I couldn't get my papers out of the tray.
Yeah.
That sounds like teamwork to me.
Yes.
Yeah, the cat was looking after me. Had my back.
Yeah.
Well, that's been an absolutely fantastic conversation and a really interesting delve into that whole concept of scariness or excitement or thinking bigger, and probably knowing that you're on the right track when you're surrounding yourself with a team of people who don't look at you like you're crazy when you come up with a crazy goal that the rest of the world might look at and go, are they on something? When they go, yeah, that's a good idea. Why don't we do that? How can I help? It's great to be in that sort of community of people that believe that the impossible is possible. And interesting, when you change impossible to possible, you've got that word "I'm," haven't you? So you are looking after yourself there as well. Has anyone got any final thoughts to add on that this evening?
No, just that I'm really excited about where this is all growing and evolving so beautifully and organically, and just excited about the results of what the impact this is going to have on the world as we all step up and come together and create something far more magical than we can ever imagine. I told Mark that. I said, we're going to create something here that you haven't even contemplated yet. It's going to be amazing. It's amazing.
Yes, I think we've found the tribe, and the tribe is expanding by the day, and it's exciting, very exciting. And yes, we are going to be pushed. We're going to be stepping outside of our comfort zones, I think, and possibly even coming up with new goals that we hadn't even dared to think might be possible.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
So
we've
on
got
that
an island and a cruise ship now.
The cruise ship, yes.
Island and a cruise ship.
You can cruise to my island anytime. It'll be our island.
Absolutely, it's a collective.
We'll have to create our own republic.
Yeah.
Well,
hasn't somebody in WA done that, or somewhere, isn't? Yeah.
Kingdom.
Yeah. I think we should all do that.
The Noble Goldman Kingdom.
Perhaps. Yeah. There we go. Let's buy a collection of islands. Let's club together and buy a collection of islands, create our own kingdom.
Well, like I said, there are a lot of islands for sale around the world, so it's a possibility, definitely.
The seed has been sown.
All right. Thank you very much for your time tonight, ladies. Awesome.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all for your input. And
take care and stay special.
Or day, wherever you are.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.